SLT Mobitel, the connection. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, celebrating a national asset. In his International Women's Day message, President Gotabaya says that a country's true development can be gauged in how it treats and accepts women. Counterproductive move. Jaffna civil society activists say forcing of UNHRC resolution on Sri Lanka likely to backfire.
Possibly asking a sovereign nation to agree to the term of the stronger international group only succeed in short run.
Rise on the horizon. Gas retailers call for urgent price increase, citing major losses at current prices. Back to school. The Education Minister announces reopening of schools outside the Western Province on the 15th of this month.
There were prophets of doom who said that this must not be done. But here is a government that had the courage of its convictions.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9. This Monday, the 8th of March, 2021.
ඇල්කොහොල් අඩංගු hand sanitizer භාවිත කරන්න. ලෙඩ රෝග ඇති කරනු විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරන්න. හඳුන්වා දීමේ මිල රුපියල් 350යි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanaka. Now let's start off with your local stories. The founder of the Civil Aeronautical Club of the Jaffna Central College, Harsha Govinda, says that the forcing of a resolution by the United Nations Human Rights Council on Sri Lanka is short-sighted and could possibly backfire on the UN organisation by delivering the opposite results in the long term. His views came during a webinar during which convener of the Jaffna Civil Society Centre, Arun Siddharth, said that the UNHRC's credibility remains in doubt over its clear hesitance to address long-standing rights abuses by Western countries.
The proposed 2021 UNHRC resolution on Sri Lanka and the cascading bureaucratic process needs to be evaluated based on three main aspects in order to qualitative assessment of the merit and demerit of such an action by the international community at this juncture. Firstly, the UNHRC resolution on Sri Lanka is pivoted against the ending of a civil war, which ended 11 years ago. While it may point to some instance happened in Sri Lanka after 2009, the root cause of those actions can always certainly be traced back to an occurrence or occurrences happened during the time of Sri Lankan civil war, a battle between a terrorist group, the LTT, which waged an armed insurgency based on a separatist ideology, and the military force of Sri Lanka government. While there may be some merit of making Sri Lanka government responsible on the single-handedly to the remedial work, the time lapse has to be a serious consideration as the main focus of United Nations organization and its subsidiary bodies is future and not going back to realize the decades-old instances where the veracity and the accuracy of the evidentiary material available at the present is questionable at best. Secondly, there are varied explanations on what happened during the civil war. It will be a near impossible task to ascertain factually who will be responsible for the instances highlighted. While one party can produce evidence, those facts will be circumstantial evidence at best. It is worth mentioning that. Possibly asking a sovereign nation to agree to the term of the stronger international group only succeed in short run and can easily backfire and deliver exact opposite results in the long run.
Meanwhile, speaking at the webinar, the convener of the Jaffna Civil Society Centre, Arun Siddharth, says that all the bodies under the United Nations display a clear bias towards Western nations. He added that the UN has turned a blind eye to the crimes conducted by Western nations against dozens of sovereign nations, including war atrocities and regime change.
United Nations itself, it's not an independent body. Everybody knows that. It's pro-Western. United Nations Security Council, what happened in Afghanistan, what happened in Libya, what is happening in Syria. Why don't they talk about Guantanamo and Abu Ghraib? So there are so many crimes done by Western countries. What America did in Vietnam, how they killed Ecuador, Panama presidents, how they changed, toppled the governments, people elected governments in so many countries, what they did in Sudan, what they did in Liberia. So these UN bodies are not credible bodies. Geneva is a business place. Everybody do business with this human rights and other stuff.
Sri Lanka's best health insurance with the fastest claim settlement. Soft Logic Life.
Pay just 500,000 rupees to reserve your unit today. Mulberry Residence.
Gas company owners have voiced concerns over the growing disparity between current retail prices versus global market prices of LP gas, which has spiked by 64% in recent times. When contacted, however, to comment on the request by gas companies to raise prices accordingly, citing billions of rupees in losses, Chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority, Major General Shanta Dissanayake, stated that a decision on the matter will be announced at a later date.
A 12.5 kilogram gas cylinder is currently available in the market at the retail price of 1,493 rupees. The government took measures to bring the gas price down by 240 rupees in 2019 from 1,733 rupees. This was done while the global market price for 1 metric ton of gas was valued at $360. However, at present, the global market price for 1 metric ton of gas has risen by 64% to $604. With this being the case, Sri Lankan gas companies say that they are no longer able to sell gas at the current local market prices.
ලෝක වෙළඳ පොලේ ගෑස් මිල දිගින් දිගටම ඉහළ ගියා. ඒ හා සමානව නැව් ගාස්තුත් වැඩි වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා පිරිවැය වැඩි වුණාට අපි විකුණුම් මිල වැඩි කරේ නැත්නම් ආයතනවලට ලොකු අලාභයකට මුහුණ දෙන්න වෙනවා. ඇත්තටම ආයතනය පහුගිය මාස 3 පුරාවට රුපියල් බිලියනයක් විතර අලාභ ලැබුණා මේ ගෑස් මිල පිරිවැයට වඩා අඩුවෙන් පවත්වාගෙන යාම නිසා. රුපියල් 1493ක් දක්වා තිබුණට දැන් ඇත්තටම 2148ක තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒ කියන්නේ රුපියල් 770ක පිරිවැය වෙනසකින් අපි මේ විකුණන්නේ අලාභයට විකුණන්නේ.
As such, when we inquired from the chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority, retired Major General Shanta Dissanayake, regarding the price increase request, he stated that a decision in this regard will be announced at a future date.
As women across the world celebrate International Women's Day today, where the focus currently remains the challenges faced by women in the backdrop of the COVID-19 pandemic, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, in his traditional message, says that Sri Lanka has a long and proud history of appreciating the country's women with dignity. The head of state added that the way a country treats and accepts women is a social indicator of its true development, and in that aspect, Sri Lanka has been exemplary.
Since February 28, 1909, International Women's Day has been the day earmarked to focus on the most important issues faced by women. These include gender inequality, celebrating women's achievements and increasing their visibility, while calling out inequality. However, in today's modern world, over a century since its first celebration, the challenges faced by women have only increased. The campaign theme for this year's International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. This day celebrates the social, economic, cultural and political achievements of women and encourages them to believe that no hurdles can stop them from accomplishing their dreams. In his message on International Women's Day today, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa says that Sri Lankan society has always appreciated and respected the woman and her role as a mother, sister, wife and housewife with utmost dignity since ancient times. The president added that the way a country treats and accepts women is a social indicator of its true development, and Sri Lanka has been exemplary in this respect. He added that it is the woman who builds the foundation of a family, the fundamental unit of any community, and plays diverse roles throughout her life, acting as a strong link that binds families that makes up society. The president also stated that women's contribution to GDP, though not often calculated in monetary value, remains very high, and that is why it has become a social responsibility to safeguard and nurture women's dignity, honor and happiness all the time. The head of state added that women have gradually been able to occupy a higher representation in a number of areas of economic, social and cultural life in Sri Lanka today and are challenging men in a number of other fields. Further, he stated that these accomplishments stand as an example not only for the women's intelligence, courage and commitment, but also for the social justice in and maturity of our society, and that women's representation in the political arena needs to be further elevated. The President added that the government's national policy framework, Vistas of Prosperity and Splendor, which precisely identifies the role of women, promises to promote their socio-economic contribution, and that its eightfold approach is now being made a reality. In the meantime, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa in his International Women's Day message stated that his belief was that every day should be dedicated to the rights of women. He added that a woman becomes a daughter, a wife, as well as the greatest figure, a mother in the world, including to each and every predominant figure in the world. Therefore, he added, women should be given due respect in society, and added that the government's policy also prioritizes women's rights and prominence to empower them as courageous women. The Premier added that as a government it strongly condemns violence against women as well as discrimination, and explained that the country also recognizes that opportunities for the rise of women are beneficial to society. Further, he added that the heroism and leadership of the Sri Lankan woman is exemplified in the world by the example Siramawa Bandaranaike, the world's first female Prime Minister. The Prime Minister also stated that it is a matter of pride that women in this country today are carrying out many responsibilities in various fields in line with those influences. He added that Sri Lanka appreciates the involvement of women economically, socially and politically, despite facing various challenges.
Now, speaking at an International Women's Day event organised by the Human Rights Commission today, Norwegian Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Trine Eskadale, said that the COVID-19 pandemic has brought about added challenges for women and girls and threatens all gains in increased rights and equality. The Norwegian envoy also highlighted UN data that showed a spike in gender violence against women during the lockdown, with a staggering 1 in 5 women reporting violence at the hands of a spouse.
To mark International Women's Day today, the Human Rights Council of Sri Lanka held a seminar under the theme The Impact of the COVID-19 Pandemic on Women and Gender Equality. Delivering the keynote address at the event was Norwegian Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Trine Eskadale, who highlighted the challenges faced by women across the globe from the pandemic, including the spike in domestic violence during the lockdown period.
Supporting women's rights and celebration of women's successes is a year-round responsibility. On Women's Day, though, it is even more important than ever to take a stand for women's equality. And I think in this year in particular, even more than ever. We are currently in the middle of a devastating pandemic that has claimed thousands of lives. And women and girls are unfortunately harder hit than men and boys. The pandemic has the potential to reverse our progress towards the Sustainable Development Goals, and in particular it has the potential of reversing all progress made to date on achieving the equality for women and girls. Today, nearly 60% of all women in the world work in the informal economy. They earn less, they save less, and as businesses are closing down due to the pandemic, millions of women are losing their jobs. Early and unintended pregnancy is on the rise, and so are harmful practices such as child marriages. Since the outbreak of COVID, emerging data and reports have shown that all types of violence against women and girls, particularly domestic violence, has intensified. UN reports that globally near 1 of 5 women have experienced violence during the last year. Many of these women are still trapped at home and often together with their abuser, and they have limited access to shelters and to other protection services. The consequences of all these factors combined is a greater denial of women's rights and women's opportunity. Progress lost will take years to regain. And that is why all governments should put women and girls at the center of their efforts to recover from the pandemic.
Meanwhile, the Power of Play organization, partnering with Strengthening Reconciliation Processes in Sri Lanka, launched a series of educational videos featuring the much-loved Mahadana Mutta character that aims to address gender issues and COVID-19. The first campaign has been based around gender equality within our own homes. The campaign, which was launched today on social media, includes 4 curated animated videos that use the much-loved Mahadana Mutta character to address topics such as standing up for oneself by requesting equal share of home responsibilities and standing up for others in the context of social stigmas around talking about domestic violence and victim shaming.
In partnership with Strengthening Reconciliation Processes in Sri Lanka, we have premiered Mahadana Mutta videos for International Women's Day 2021 on the theme of Choose to Challenge Gender gender norms within our own households to ensure gender equality and equal partnerships. The first video discusses the importance of sharing home responsibilities between both the husband and the wife, and the second one discusses creating safe online spaces for women. So we invite you to watch these videos on YouTube on the Power of Play YouTube channel, as well as Power of Play and SRP Facebook, Instagram sites, and join the dialogue on choosing to challenge.
Meanwhile, the World Bank Group joined the Colombo Stock Exchange for the 6th consecutive year to ring the bell for gender equality. The annual global event highlights how women's participation in the economy can spur sustainable private sector development. This year's event comes at a critical moment as the economic and social consequences of COVID-19 continue to disproportionately impact women, who make up 39% of global employment but account for 54% of the overall job losses due to the pandemic. According to the McKinsey Global Institute, the job loss rate for women is 1.8 times higher than for males, and studies show that making even small in closing the global gender gap could quickly yield strong results, with the potential to increase gross domestic product by $12 trillion by 2025. CSE Chairman Dumit Fernando stated at the event that the CSE was keen to continue its momentum and use the bell ringing ceremony as a call to action in 2021 because it's strong belief that greater participation of women in the workforce, economy and capital markets can make a positive impact to society and our country at large. He added that as the country recovers from a global pandemic, the CSE encourages corporates to capitalize on the skills of women in the workforce today to spur the country's recovery.
Now then, our very own head of English news here at First at 9 on AdaDerana 24. Indivari Amuatha was honoured with Abhiman Lee Award yesterday for her contribution to the field of media. The event also felicitated the contributions of female corps of the Tri-Forces, the police and other inspirational Sri Lankan women professionals for their meaningful contributions to Sri Lankan society. Appearing as the chief guest at the event, Defence Secretary Major General Kamal Gunaratne took the opportunity to reassure the government's fullest intention to take swift and stern action against those who use social media to victimise and tarnish the reputation of women.
A ceremony to felicitate the noble contributions of the female corps of the Tri-Forces, the police, and inspirational female Sri Lankan professionals, titled Abhiman Lee, was worked off at the Lakshman Kadirgam Institute yesterday, with Defence Secretary retired Major General Kamal Gunaratne attending as the chief guest. The event was worked off by Team Hero in partnership with Women in Management, in line with the International Women's Day, which is being celebrated across the world today. A highlight of the event was our very own General Manager and Head of the English News at AdaDerana 24, Indivari Amuatha, being bestowed with the Abhiman Lee Award for inspirational contribution in the media field.
වර්තමානයේ සමාජ ජාල ඇතුළු විවිධ මාධ්‍යයන් ඔස්සේ නොයෙක් අවස්ථාවන්වල සමාජයේ පිළිගත් සමාජයට විශාල මෙහෙවරක් කරන කාන්තාවන් අට මඩ ප්‍රහාර එල්ල කිරීම ඉතාමත්ම සුලභ දර්ශනයක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. රජයක් වශයෙන් අප ඉතාමත් වගකීමකින් සහ කැපවීමෙන් එම ගැටලු වලට අවශ්‍ය පිළියම් කරන බවත් එවන් අවස්ථාවලදී ක්ෂණිකව අවශ්‍ය පරිදි තීරණ ගැනීමට අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමන් විසින් නිරන්තරයෙන් අදාළ අංශ වෙත උපදෙස් ලබා දෙන බවත් ඔබ හමුවේ මතක් කර සිටීමට කැමැතියි.
We will see you once more on the other side of this break. Stay with us.
කොරෝනා වෛරසය 99.9% දක්වා විනාශ කිරීමට උපකාරී වන Surf Excel Hygiene Boosters.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now, Professor Neelika Malavige of the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura says that rumours circulating on social media alleging infertility as a possible adverse effect of the COVID-19 vaccine are false. Professor Malavige urged people to go ahead and get vaccinated, adding that experiencing slight fever and body aches are natural during the process.
Out of the 359 infections detected yesterday, 337 have been reported as locally transmitted cases detected from 18 districts. The remaining 22 were reportedly detected among Sri Lankan expatriate returnees. The highest number of infections were reported from the Gampaha district with 77, while the Colombo district reported 74. In the other districts, 34 infections were reported from Galle, 18 from Nuwara, 17 each from Jaffna and Kurunegala, 15 from Ratnapura and 13 from Monaragala. The other 10 districts accounted for the remaining 72 infections. This time, however, no infections were reported from Matale, Polonnaruwa, Trincomalee, Mana, Vaunia, Kilinochchi and the Matara districts. Meanwhile, the caseload for today currently stands at 334. Further during the day, 5 more COVID-19 related deaths were confirmed, bringing total fatalities to 507. In the meantime, the remains of 7 more COVID-19 victims were buried at the Oddamavadi burial site in Batiklo. On the vaccination front, 5,284 people were administered with the Oxford-AstraZeneca jab yesterday. This brought the total number of inoculations carried out since the 29th of January to 729,562. Further, the immunization of seniors and physically disabled was worked off today at the Narayanpeta Vaccination Centre. In the meantime, Deputy Director General of Public Health Services Dr. Hemant Herath says that vaccines received via the COVAX facility will be distributed among the relevant target groups as soon as possible.
Yesterday, we received another stock of vaccines under the COVAX facility. These vaccines too will be distributed among the relevant target populations during the days ahead, and that will be handled by the epidemiology unit of the Ministry of Health and implemented by the relevant provincial health authorities as well as Colombo Municipal Council.
Meanwhile, Professor Neelika Malavige of the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine at the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura addressed rumours circulating on social media pertaining to alleged adverse effects of vaccines.
නත්කරණය ගැන සමාජ ජාලාවල ඉතාමත්ම වැරදි මත පැතිරීගෙන යනවා. එකක් තමයි වඳභාවය තියෙනවා කියලා. ඒ වගේ කතාවක් කොහෙන් ආවද කියලා හිතා ගන්නත් බෑ. ඒක කිසිම සත්‍යතාවයක් නෑ. ඒ ඇරෙන සංකූලතා ගැන මත ප්‍රකාශ වෙනවා. දැන් ඇත්තටම අපි හැමෝන්ටම එන්නත් ලබා දෙලා තියෙන ලදරු වයසේ මොකද උනේ කියලා අපිට මතක නෑ. ඒ වුණාට ලදරුවන්ට එන්නත් ගැහුවාම අම්මලා තාත්තලා දන්නවා ලදරුවන්ට උණ හැදෙනවා. අතපය කැක්කුම හැදෙනවා. ඉතින් නේ දුර හැදිලා. ඉතින් අර ලදරුවන්ට පෙන්වන අතුරු විපාක අපිටත් ලැබෙනවා. සමහර අයට හැදෙන්නේ අතපය කැක්කුම ඕවා තියෙනවා දවස් දෙකක් විතර. ඒ පාර අතුරු ආබාධ නැති අයත් බය වෙනවා. එයිමට අතුරු ආබාධයක් ඇති උනේ නැති කියලා. ඒක කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නෙවෙයි.
Meanwhile, State Minister of COVID Disease Control Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopulle responded to media reports of the Serum Institute of India's inability to deliver the vaccine order placed by Sri Lanka due to a recent fire at its facility and that they are ready to refund Sri Lanka's payment.
නෑ එහෙම කිසිම එහෙම සල්ලි රිටර්න් කරන ගැටලුවක් නැහැ. අපේ ඉන්දියානු මහා කොමසාරිස්තුමාව මුණ ගැහුච්ච වෙලාවෙත් එතුමා කිව්වේ අර ඉල්ලපු ප්‍රමාණ වලින් අපිට දී ගන්න හැකියාවක් නැහැ. නමුත් අපි අඛණ්ඩව ඒ එන්නත් ටික ලබා දෙන්න ඕන එකඟතාවය පළ කළා තියෙන නිසා කිසිම ගැටලුවක් නැහැ.
Speaking to AdaDerana, Chairman of the State Pharmaceutical Corporation, Dr. Prasanna Gunasena confirmed that the Indian government has informed the Sri Lankan authorities that steps will be taken to deliver the 1 million vaccines ordered in 2 phases. In more news, the total number of recoveries from COVID-19 increased to 82,513 after 454 people recovered and were discharged today.
Now, the Minister of Education, Professor G.L. Piri, says that all schools in the country, except those in the Western Province, are set to restart on the 15th of this month, while schools in the Western Province will resume only after the Ministry of Health gives the go-ahead. The Minister also said that he believes that everything in life can be repaired except education, and it was because of this that the government was firm in its conviction to hold the Grade 5 scholarship examination as well as the ordinary and advanced level examinations, despite the negativity being spread by certain factions.
Arrangements are already being made to mark the answer scripts written during the first 3 days of the examination. And it is our intention to release the results of this examination in June. That will enable us to start advanced level classes in the following month, that is in July. Had we listened to very negative opinions that were expressed with regard to not only the conduct of the O-level examination, but the advanced level examination, the grade 5 scholarship examination, there were prophets of doom who said that this must not be done. But here is a government that had the courage of its convictions and was prepared to subject at all times to health measures which we regarded as being of principal importance. In life, everything can be repaired except education. If you close down schools, if you do not hold examinations for a year, that is irreparable damage that is inflicted on the future of a whole generation. With regard to the reopening of schools, throughout the country, arrangements are being made to commence classes for all grades in all schools from Monday, the 15th of March. With regard to the Western Province, the 3 districts of the Western Province, the Ministry of Education has made a recommendation that we are prepared to commence classes. But the ultimate decision has to be made by officials of the Ministry of Health. We have sent in our recommendations, we have expressed our views, and during the next 2 days, we expect the final decision to be made by the Director General of Health, Dr. Asala Gunawardhan.
We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Welcome back. This is First at 9. Now, we've received news that Vimala Amardev, the wife of late music maestro Pandit Amardev, has passed away at the cardiology unit of the National Hospital in Colombo. She was 86. The Norwegian Development Finance Institution, Norfund, and the National Development Bank have struck a deal for 9.99% stake in the bank, which will see Norfund becoming NDB's largest foreign shareholder. Norfund is the Norwegian investment fund for developing countries, and it is owned and funded by the Norwegian government. At the media briefing on the agreement, Norwegian ambassador to Sri Lanka, Trine Eskadal, said that Norfund investment would convey a positive message to other potential investors in Sri Lanka. Speaking to media at the event, NDB chairman Ashana De Silva expressed excitement on the signing of the bank's first ever equity infusion agreement and stated that the technical know-how and cooperation Norfund brings to the table was one of the main highlights of the deal.
The National Development Bank and Norwegian Development Finance Institution Norfund inked an agreement for a 9.99% stake in the bank last week, potentially making Norfund its largest foreign shareholder. Under the agreement, Norfund will participate in NDB's planned 8 billion rupee rights issue, where it plans to purchase any unsubscribed shares in the event of an undersubscription. Representing Norfund at the signing ceremony, Norwegian ambassador to Sri Lanka Trine Eskadal stated that Norfund's investment in NDB is a clear indication of the confidence Norway has in the Sri Lankan economy and private sector, and hoped that this would send a clear message on the country's viability.
Financial inclusion is critical to support growth and to reduce poverty and vulnerability. Investments in financial institutions like the NDB and thereby contribute to increase access to capital for small and medium-sized enterprises, companies, is one of the main investments areas of Norfund. Sri Lanka was added to Norfund's list of mandated countries in 2019, which I believe is a strong signal of confidence in Sri Lanka's private sector and in Sri Lanka's economy. NDB is Norfund's first equity investment in Sri Lanka, and it's the second investment that Norfund also is doing in the country. And I also hope this message and this investment will convey a positive message to other potential investors in Sri Lanka, and in particular in these challenging times. In addition to supporting the SME sector and promote financial inclusion of the unbanked in Sri Lanka, Norfund will also provide technical assistance and global assistance to bank and to promote global environmental and social standards, and by thus achieving the best-in-class corporate governance.
Also speaking at the event, NDB chairman Ashana De Silva said that the board was excited to sign its first equity infusion agreement with a partner such as Norfund, and that the bank was eager for the resulting technical cooperation that Norfund brings to the table.
At the ambassador's residence, we signed the agreement, of course, which is subject to regulatory approval and shareholder approval, which we will go in for really soon. We are delighted that our partner here is going to be Norfund. And it is Norfund's first equity investment in Sri Lanka. It is also NDB's first equity infusion agreement that we have signed. So we are extremely excited because there will be a lot of technical cooperation, there will be a lot of know-how that we will get from this agreement. Something very important to note is that Norfund's investment not only denotes the confidence it has in NDB Bank, but also in our Sri Lankan economy and our resilience, especially during a time like this.
Meanwhile, NDB Group CEO Dimanta Seneviratne revealed that in the event of an oversubscription, Norfund would still have the private placement option, which could then see the total capital raised up to 11 billion rupees.
They will be subscribing to our rights issue. In the event there are undersubscribed shares,
they will buy those shares. So there is an assurance that they will buy up to 10% or 9.99% of the shares which have not been subscribed at the rights issue. But in the event of our rights issue fully subscribed, they still have the private placement option where they will come at a 10% premium to the rights price. So at 82 rupees 50 cents, they will subscribe to the additional shares which will come at private placement. So all in all, a minimum 8 billion rights issue, but in case of a full subscription by the existing shareholders, technically Norwegian investment would be about 3 billion rupees. So that would go up to about 11 billion in total capital that we'll be raising.
Now taking a look at the Colombo Bourse, Sri Lankan shares clocked their best daily gain in nearly 1 month today as financial and industrial stocks advanced. The all-share price index ended 3.74% higher at 7,318.43, its best one-day performance since February 12th, while the S&P SL20 index of more liquid stocks gained 115.12 points to close at 2,906.69. Now here's Dimantha Matthew with today's stock market report, which will be followed by a currency update.
Today we saw a positive trend in the market, reversing from last week's negativity with the positive news that is coming out of the CSE and SSE regarding the credit that was there in the system. So with that, we saw confidence levels coming back into the market. Today the market was up by about 263 points and the index reached past 7,300 with ease. We saw turnover levels also spiking back up to around 2.7 billion rupees, and with that the number of transactions is in the 20,000 range, reaching 23,000. We saw confidence levels flowing back into the market, buying interest strongly prevalent among the investors across the board.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.